everyone. On behalf of Tagged, India's largest digital recruitment company, our industry partners, Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, and our media partners, The Economic Times, it is my utmost honor to welcome you all at the Decoding Jobs 2023 Annual Conclave. My name is Kamakshi, and I'm your host for the evening. We all will be together for 120 minutes, and all I can promise is if recruitment is your cup of tea, you will simply love the insights that will be shared by our thought leaders and experts in these 2 hours. The theme for this year's conclave is India Safe Shores Amid Global Woes, and rightly so. Last year, we achieved an incredible milestone when our economy surged to become the fifth largest in the world. Despite global challenges, our nation confidently stepped up with strong political leadership and sound policy decisions that resulted in India becoming one of the fastest growing economies. This growth translated into quite a recruiting marathon for all of us and companies across sectors, and the most buoyant talent market that we all had ever seen. Well, the pace might have slowed down a bit, but India continues to bring equilibrium in the current state of global market headwinds and continues to be one of the world's biggest talent markets. Well, we'll know more from our experts and the Decoding Jobs India report that will shortly be unveiled about how the new year looks like. But our belief is that this momentum will pick up again in the coming quarters. I'm sure, like me, you all are eagerly waiting for the insights to start flowing, and I won't stand in the way. And without much further ado, we start with the first part of the evening with Devashish Sharma, founding member and president at TAG, as he presents the key finding from Decoding Jobs India Report 2023. He will also be joined by a few of our guests for the report unveil. So, Devashish, welcome on the stage. Over to you.
I thank all our leaders who've joined us today. I wanted to present some insights, which I will do towards the end of the session. But I would want to very quickly invite Dr. Rajiv Singhal, member CII National Committee on Skill Development and Livelihood and founding member, managing director and CEO, Marengo Asia Healthcare, for the welcome address. Welcome, Rajiv, and over to you.
Thanks, Devashish. Really appreciate it. I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Atul Tiwari, the Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. Mr. Devashish Sharma, founding member, President TAGT. Ms. Bhavna Chopra Shri Krishna, to General Manager and Head Skill Development and Livelihood Confederation of Indian Industry. And to all my friends from government industry, academia, media joining us virtually on this conclave. As a part of Skill Development Committee of CII, I welcome you all to the Decoding Jobs 2023 Annual Conclave. It is a pleasure to be here for release of the 4th edition of Decoding Jobs Annual Report. The in-depth analysis of Indian job landscape that these reports reveal have fast gained the interest of the multiple industry leaders, the government, the thought leaders in education and skills. This will further enable cohesiveness between stakeholders, government, professional corporates, policymakers, institutes, all those imparting skill development and academia to introduce skill development in their agenda. India is poised to become $5 trillion economy by 2025, which requires highly skilled trained manpower to contribute to this economic growth. To impact structural transformation and economic growth, skill development is an important component. This will enhance employability, labor productivity, and help us as a nation become increasingly competitive in the global market. Skill development also impacts increase in jobs and is considered one of the most crucial critical aspects. We are armed with unique advantage of young population, which can bring in dividends if trained well. However, improved employability is the key to extracting optimized dividends from the large force such as ours. The future of jobs is defined by invasion of newer technologies in newer sectors and markets by global economic systems that are increasingly interconnected. Information that travels faster than light, the competitiveness of the workforce will rely upon skilling, reskilling, upskilling of the workforce, to meet the demands of the advent of the Industry 4.0, with manufacturers integrating new technologies to encompass the implementing big data, AI robotics, machine learning, cloud services for automation and autonomous operations in industries. We are witnessing a revolutionized way organizations are improving their manufacturing, distribution of their products, and customer service. We see smart technology, smart autonomous systems, smart logistics, smart manufacturing, but this is not limited just to supply chain and go ways beyond to render a company is digitally transformed for unprecedented visibility and control. There is a critical need to build a workforce that can operate in a technological and dynamic world. Our country's future achievements are directly proportional to our ability to understand the need of the hour, adapt, align, transform to integrate newer and advanced technology at all levels to make a cohesive organization to bring out optimized outcomes. We have witnessed a paradigm shift in the way the healthcare players have adapted newer technologies, processes, and systems to address the gaps and the loopholes that the pandemic has thrown on us. We have aligned ourselves to better and tighter control of systems to be put in place for better service deliveries across healthcare platforms. With India's index as a preferred destination for medical value travel rising, we are obliged to enhance skills of both medical, non-medical staff in the healthcare industry so that we can be seen as a most preferred destination as far as medical value travel is concerned. India's G20 presidency in 2023 will present a unique opportunity to shape the global economic governance agenda. As an official secretariat for B20 for a dialogue forum and with the global business community, CII focus will be on skill development and future of work, skill, and mobility. The focus areas for us will be employment and employability, along with mapping and aligning future jobs, technology and employability, skilling, reskilling, upskilling, international mobility of the skill force across. CII has played a significant role since 1987 to build a robust and aspirational skill ecosystem in India in the form of promotion and advocacy, research, studies, PPP models, assessment, and CII's own on ground initiatives over a period of time. Leveraging its membership, CII has been focusing on demand led skilling, reskilling, and upskilling with a focal point in training for creation of higher productive workforce, concurrently making a social impact. And it's a matter of pride that through our various skill initiatives, CII impacts over 1 million youth annually, bridging the gap between job seekers and the industry employers. In CII, we are leveraging our model career centers to aggregate jobs, provide career counseling, placements, pre employment, soft and employability skill training. To link job seekers and providers, CII has established model career centers, which are industry led employment facilitation centers. Based on a unique multi corporate, multi skilling models, the five CII multi skill institutes spread across India train youth in specialized trades based on aggregated job vacancies and demand of the industry. CII has partnered with ITC Hotels, Taj Hotels to provide world class hospitality training in India, spread all across India, train youth in specialized trades based on aggregated job vacancies and demand of the industry. With the sectors doing so well, it is gratifying to see employment opportunities rising and creating such a bright future for all. On this note, I would once again thank all of you to contribute towards the growth of the youth employment, providing the employment opportunities, and at the same time continue to skill and upskill the people. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singhal, for your very, very wise comments and your wise address. What I will do till the time, of course, the Secretary, Government of India joins us. I will present what I was to present earlier, which is the findings from the report. I will not take more than 3 minutes. So very quickly, I'll give you a glimpse of how this report has come about. The Decoding Jobs report first started in 2019 with a threefold intent to, number one, understand the demand pulse and hiring intent across 7 significant non-farm organized sectors. Number 2, track shifts in the Indian job landscape in each sector. And number 3, bring forth the views of talent leaders in front of the entire job ecosystem. In its 4th year now, the objective of Decoding Jobs continues to remain the same, albeit with even more passion and zeal to bring to you the most accurate and actionable insights. 2022 was a challenging year and saw significant corrections in the overall jobs market. It presented several difficulties for job seekers, while on the other hand, provided ample opportunities for fundamentally strong companies to build a skilled talent pool to fuel their expansion plans. We at Tagged too achieved our revenue targets and grew by over 30% in the last year. Now, moving towards the methodology of preparing these reports, we reached out to over 200 organizations over the past 3 months and gathered valuable insights from over 80 senior leaders from industry, academia, and government. This feat would not have been possible without the unmatched support of our 2 partners, the Confederation of Indian Industry and the Economic Times. The Decoding Jobs 2023 India report is composed of inputs acquired from business leaders across 7 industries, which include automotive, BFSI, manufacturing and engineering, internet businesses, pharma, GIC, and IT. 2023 is also the year of new opportunities for job seekers. Number-wise, in 2023, we are expecting a 20% hiring intent across industries led by automotive, BFSI, manufacturing and engineering, despite a muted IT tech hiring intent. I'm not sure if my team has been able to get the presentation going, but I will continue. Businesses continue to hire in tier 1 cities, but also look for ways to diversify their talent pool, which has resulted in a tendency toward recruiting from non-tier 1 regions. Talking about talent churn, especially in the aftermath of the Great Resignation, the data collected from this year's India Hiring Intent Survey shows that the average attrition rate of India incorporated for 2022 is pegged at 18%, which is an improvement from the 25% recorded in 2021. The IT industry, which employs a large percentage of the workforce, recorded the maximum attrition at 25%, while manufacturing setups witnessed the lowest attrition at 14% in 2020. In the context of workforce flexibility, the hybrid work model is poised for significant growth in 2023 as companies aim to create a competent and flexible working environment. It was also concerning to look at what the report threw up regarding gender parity in the workplace. With a lot of initiatives being undertaken to improve women's participation, we are yet to cover real ground even this year. The percentage of women in workforce has sadly dropped from 36% in 2021 to 33% recorded in 2022. In terms of the composition of the workforce, early career professionals are expected to remain in high demand in the coming year as companies are weighing on hiring and developing skills required instead of shopping for talent, just like what we heard from Dr. Singhal. We also expect the industry-academia relationship to further strengthen. Friends, I have only offered a glimpse of the Decoding Jobs 23 India report. In the upcoming sessions, we will have stalwarts and luminaries from government, business, and academia who will be adding more value to this report with their knowledge and expertise. I will now request the Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, Shri Atul Kumar Tiwari. I'll also request Dr. Rajiv Singhal, Mr. Shagata Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director, CII, and Ms. Bhavna Chopra Shri Krishna, General Manager, Head and Skills Development and Livelihood at CII, together with me to unveil the report. So right here, I hope we all have it. Atul sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sharmaji. So this is the report.
There you go. And we unveil it right here.
Yes, lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, Thank you. Thank you once again. And I hope everyone gets the chance to read this report. You could just register on our website, www.tag.in, and download it. I, of course, now request Sri Atul Kumar Tiwari to deliver the keynote address. It is a testament to the importance of this report that such an eminent figure has graced us with his presence. Let us all give a warm welcome to him. Atul sir, welcome, and over to you.
Namaste, Sharmaji. Dr. Rajiv Singhal Saab, my friends from the government, industry, academia, and media who are joining us virtually. First of all, I'd like to applaud CIA for taking out this report today, and also for organizing this conclave, or this part of the conclave on virtual mode, which I would say is one significant way the way our society and our working styles have changed since the epidemic. And I would say that for all of us, it is quite useful. Uh, as you know, the Indian economy is the seventh largest in the world when it comes to GDP, and third largest according to purchasing power parity. And the media reports suggest that whole world is looking at India with a lot of hope and expectations that India would be able to steer not only itself, but the general development and progress agenda of the world in the coming 2 decades. We are also we not only get foreign investments from individual investors and large multinationals, and there is more than that. India is also one of the largest talent markets in the world, and as we have seen it, a lot of the back office operations are being done in India. Spurring factor, but as we can see, because of the automation, because of the technology use and its dispersal into the population, our job roles have become quite agile, and I would say that every 3 years or 4 years, their job roles are changing, and every now and then. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given us a mantra in this regard. He has said that our mantra should be skilling, reskilling, and upskilling, and which coheres so well with the changing circumstances and the changing world working conditions that we all see. So I would assume that the hiring landscape is also changing with a focus on flexibility, agility, and a modern outlook towards the skills that candidates are able to bring to the table. I would assume that the employees are also looking for employees who have the potential to grow, upskill, and contribute to the innovations of the business. And as the India is hosting the G20 this year, we are also part of the Ministry of Skill is a part of the working group on education and labor. On the education, we are steering a discussion on the future of jobs. This will happen in Bhubaneswar in April, and that is where we will also bring to the fore how the future of jobs is changing and what are the things which we should remain aware of and prepared for. I would take this opportunity to also to welcome all on the industries and the companies to collaborate with us on this G20 conference in Bhubaneswar. We on the working group on the labor, we have been working on the skill um, uh, with the international G20 countries, as we find that even the developing countries, they are facing shortage of some core skills, and particularly if we agree on the skills taxonomy, we will agree on sharing the data on the skill gaps among the countries, And if you agree on working on skill harmonization, then this will be a win-win situation for not only for developing country, but also for the developed countries as well. And I'm very happy to say that the kind of interaction which we had on the G20 countries were quite encouraging. And with the support of the ILO and the OECD and other such institutional organizations, we'll be able to move in that direction. And very soon we'll have a situation where the decoding of the jobs which we've been talked about will be in the context of a wider area as well. We also analyzed the union budget of 2023, and as you can concur with me that it has given a much needed stimulus to job growth and creation, especially livelihood. And we're very happy to note that the skilling has been mentioned so many times, and we believe that the skilling is the one factor which would lead to immense amount of productivity gain and efficiency gains in our economy. And we are here to work with the different ministries and the businesses to improve the skill situation which is in India, so that our growth momentum is expedited and our economic development is also speeded up. We have the Startup India schemes and self-reliant schemes, which are also providing support and incentives for budding entrepreneurs and India, so that India can become a hub of the global supply chain. And I would say that we should also, it gives me also a platform to say that the Skill India initiative, in the sense that it will provide a robust supply chain of quality talent as India steps up to lead the next wave of global economic growth. And we would be willing to work, we are working rather, and work further with the industries and businesses so they can meet their skilling gaps in many innovative ways. And we'll encourage the businesses and industries to work with us so that we can work in a collaborative method so that at least the skill requirements are being met. There are a lot of many things which we are doing. And as you can see, the budget has announced Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. It has announced apprenticeship promotion scheme. It has announced international skilling centers. And it has also announced Skill India Digital. And we'll seek the support of the CII to engage with our stakeholders in this regard so that we are able to make it easy to use and very useful instruments so that it helps us in getting the skill quotient of country up, and which also helps for the development of our country. I thank Devashish Sharma ji, Rajiv Singhal ji, and of course the CIA chairperson, Mr. Kirloskar, for giving me this an opportunity to spend some time with you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to work with you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Atul sir. And yes, I think the entire corporate world, along with academia, is so looking forward to the G20 summit to be hosted by India, the mother of democracy. Thank you so much for your very inspiring words. They instilled in us a sense of hope and determination in the fact that India truly is safe shores amid global woes, and she will continue to strive for excellence as we embark on this ambitious mission to shape our nation into an economic powerhouse. I request all of you to just remain on continued, all the leaders who just were with me for about a minute more. And now, distinguished audience from government, industry, and academia, it was a matter of great pride last evening when, on behalf of Team Tagged and the Confederation of Indian Industry, Mr. Pankaj Bansal, co-founder and Group CEO, People Strong, and non-executive director, Karmayogi Bharat, together with me, got to present a copy of the Decoding Jobs 2023 India report to the Honorable Union Minister for Labour and Employment, Shri Bhupinder Yadav. The Honorable Minister expressed his deep appreciation for Team Tagged and CII in bringing together qualitative and quantitative views in this report from the government, industry, and academia trinity for yet another year. Mr. Yadav expressed that this report should continue to guide India's leaders in reshaping India's talent landscape in the years to come. With this, of course, I, on behalf of Team TAGGED and CII, would like to express our immense gratitude to the Honorable Union Minister for Labour and Employment, Government of India, Shri Bhupinder Yadav, the Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, Shri Atul Kumar Tiwari, Dr. Rajiv Singhal, Member CII's National Committee on Skill Development and Livelihood, and Mr. Shugata Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director, Confederation of Indian Industry, for taking out time from their extremely hectic schedules to grace us with their presence and enlighten us with their thoughts today. I would especially like to call out Ms. Bhavna Chopra Sri Krishna, General Manager and Head, Skills Development and Livelihood at CII, for being our strength and stay during the writing of this report. My biggest applause and cheers for the amazing partnership and camaraderie between Team TAGGED and CII for working tirelessly in putting together the report and this conclave. I also profusely thank all other leaders from the industry, academia, and government who have made the Decoding Jobs India report possible. Together, let us unlock India's talent potential and create the strongest economy and a brighter future for our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. As you can see, we are back with the Power Pack CXO panel that is going to discuss about the core theme of the conclave and core theme of the Decoding Jobs India Report 2023, which is India safe shore among global woes. So we have leaders over here who need no introductions. So Sandeep, my job is very easy. I'm just going to hand it over to you for an exciting discussions, and looking forward to the insights that come through it.
No, thank you, Kamakshi. Certainly, I want to start by congratulating the team TAGGED and CII for their relentless commitment and hard work in getting this report out. Clearly, indeed, a silver lining in the dark sky. Let me begin by quoting, and I found that statement to be very, very impressive, coming in from our Union Minister, Mrs. Smriti Irani. When at Davos, she said, tenacity of technology met the audacity of administration. And this was said while describing India's resilience during the pandemic. And I feel yet again, we see ourselves live up to her statement. Even in the current gloom and doom of the world economy that we continue to face, there is some good news. December of 2022, we saw the employment rate for the country increase to 37.1, which has been the highest since January of the year. But yet, ladies and gentlemen, I think for a large economy like India, it's important for us to understand that it is yet only 37.1. Our next session is a panel discussion with senior HR leaders who will help us take a closer look at how India is faring amidst the global crisis. What we have today is the illustrious report. You've already seen some very eminent people from the government reveal that, and an illustrious panel that very quickly I'm going to introduce you to, who will reveal more insights on exactly how we see some of the largest organizations, employers in the country across sectors drive and steer the job market. We're glad to have a very good representation from sectors like manufacturing, always been one of the largest contributors to the job creation in a large country like India, utilities, global captive, financial services, and information technology. Let me very quickly welcome Priyanka Chaudhary, Director, Talent Acquisition South Asia at Citi, Gautam Kumar, CHRO India and Southeast Asia at SKF. Additionally, he's also the Director for Industrial Business for Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines. Himal Tiwari, CHRO for India's largest integrated power company, Tata Power. Indranil Chaudhary, President and Head HR, UTI Mutual Fund. Meenakshi Samant, Executive Director, SAARC Region at Ingram Micro. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting.
Okay, let's just get started, and hopefully, as we are in the middle of our discussion, we will have Himan join the conversation as well. Gautam, very quickly, let me just kind of jump in straight with you, since manufacturing has always been one of the top sectors to drive the growth in the job market. We've seen that even through the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021. How do you fundamentally look at the job growth outlook in 2023 for the manufacturing? And since you also have a regional role, try and draw a bit of a comparison between India and what you continue to see in other equally manufacturing focused economies like Thailand.
Well, Sandeep, thank you for having me here and the great audience and my panel members. First of all, I just wanted to extend my sincere congratulations to the TAC team on your outstanding report on jobs. I think the hard work which team has put and the dedication, I'm sure it will pay off in future. And the whole dedication of the entire team and the conglomerate and the excellence in is all, it's just like an inspiration to all of us. I'm sure this report will have a significant impact in the industry going forward. So to answer your question, um, Sandeep, I think how I see this industry, um, I think Indian manufacturing industry continues to outperform the forecast from the prior years. You know, despite we had so many issues around supply constraint, manpower deficit, and you know we went through a little bit of unstable economic climate. Um, but what India has done, it has turned the challenges into opportunities. You know, and it is still doing it. And I would say the geopolitical development and the supply chain disruptions are leading to accelerated reshoring and inshoring efforts. And additionally, India is, benefiting from increasingly, like there is a concept called China plus one model, whereas the enterprise avoid investing just in China and spread their activities across ICI, I would say, which is India and Southeast Asia. And India has been in a forefront to adopt the China plus one model. And there are other beneficiary, like you see that Tesla moving to places like Indonesia, and people are also trying to invest in Vietnam. But I think, and the very fact that Foscom and the entire Apple industry is coming in India, yeah, and likewise there are multiple other industry. So much so that SKF has invested so much of in India. I see it's a great opportunity for us in manufacturing. Second, I also want to thank government initiatives like national manufacturing policy, which aims to raise I would say manufacturing GDP share, from 25% by 2025. And look at the PLI scheme for manufacturing, which was introduced in 2022, and uh, and that aim to bring India as a core manufacturing sector up to the par with international manufacturing standards. The biggest challenge in the talent, which what I personally experience, is that the input on the diversity, which I think you guys also just spoke in the beginning. We don't have enough diversity talent in the manufacturing, which makes us, you know, uh, take a very stretched target how to bring in more and more diversity. I'm talking about gender diversity here in the manufacturing sector. That's how I would. Those are the three things I would want to call out. Sandeep, over to you.
No, wonderful. Thank you. And I think you very nicely brought the distinction between uh, the manufacturing activity that we continue to see across Southeast Asia versus India. I'll come back to you asking a few more revealing questions on that, but let me very quickly jump on to Priyanka. Priyanka, you represent one of the largest financial services captives in the country. Uh, just reading from the past, whenever we've essentially seen any kind of a global crisis uh, coming in from the West, the slowdown in Europe and in North America, we've essentially seen an upsurge in both the quality as well as the quantity of jobs that come into a talent hub like India. Very quickly, I think, from a global vantage point, give us your views and perspective on how Citigroup is looking at this largely from your organization in India.
Thanks, Sandeep. And yeah, firstly, thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm very happy to be a part of Decoding Jobs 2023 Annual Conclave. Congratulations to you, to Pankaj, Devashish, Vishal, the entire group. I think this is an outstanding initiative and it's very well received in the industry. So, compliments to you. Um, to your question, I think you have very well captioned this session by saying India safe shores amidst global crisis. It's the most relevant statement of today. Let me first talk India, and then maybe I'll go to my sector, which is financial services. My comments will not be very different from Gotham, but at the risk of repetition, there will be just a few comments. I think India, continues to be one, not just one, but it's among the largest economies. We are growing year on year, 6% plus. And we have managed our finances very well. Banks are doing reasonably well. You would have seen SBI's unprecedented quarterly report, the last report that they had shared in the market. And at the same time, other foreign banks like Citi, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, I think we are doing very well in India and, of course, globally. When you talk about India, I think post COVID, the silver lining for me was we have been a beneficiary. Gautam was alluding to the China and the West tension, and I think we have been a beneficiary because increasingly, be it manufacturing or every other sector, India is being looked at with keen eye. We have become one of the key markets in terms of being an innovation hub, call it defense, talk about tech, talk about retail manufacturing, healthcare. We are at the helm of being one of the key markets. So I think, India is shining like never before. Post COVID, very tumultuous times for everyone, but I think India has emerged stronger than ever before post COVID. Um, Manufacturing, I think Gautam was alluding to iPhones being manufactured in India. What else can we ask for? So we are not just we are not just catering to the very large consumer base in India, but I think we have started catering to the consumer base globally, and that's very very heartwarming, I guess, and also very good for the country. Um, Coming to my sector, the last couple of years, the way we have hired a talent acquisition leader, and I can tell you that hiring has been unprecedented again. Talk about investment in technology on the banking side, or talk about investment in analytics, talk about investment in data science. All these skills have become really, really um, hot from an India perspective. Look, India has everything. We have land, we have labor, we have skill. So no better place than India to be, I think, placing jobs. Also, all the layoffs that we heard recently, the FANG organizations, announcing layoffs. India has been a beneficiary because a lot of skills have come into India, and thank God we have a very competing talent base to fit into those roles. So I would say, just to cut a very long story short, a very positive thumbs up to India as a key global market in terms of all the sectors and all the industries. So from a banking perspective, from a Citigroup perspective, we think there is only opportunity and opportunity available, not just in 2023, but onwards as well. Thank
Are
you,
there any
Sandeep. Back to
specific?
you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Priyanka. Thank you so much for your insights. Are there any specific, or rather new areas that you're bringing into India, and that's really where you see the job creation, or this is also happening into the conventional experience and jobs that you already have in a very large setup that you cater to from India?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, this morning I was reading the newspaper. So the Fed will have to lift the benchmark interest rate above 5%, and because of that, Jamie Dimon has made a very bold comment saying we are laying off hundreds of mortgage staff, and then we'll be, hiring core bankers. So City can be different. I think we are definitely hiring more in terms of core banking, a lot of investment in technology. When we say technology, analytics cannot be left behind. So analytics, we are seeing a lot of investment. And also, given the environment, we are investing a lot in jobs related to risk and controls. So a lot of jobs coming up in risk, controls, compliance, and that's where most of the open roles uh, happen to be. But I'll tell you one thing as a tagline: we will continue to invest in technology in City, And that's exactly where the focus will be.
No, wonderful. Thank you, Priyanka. And Indranil, with that, I guess it is very nicely leading into the domestic financial services sector. You clearly have been at the driving force behind a large-scale transformation at UTI Mutual Funds. In fact, banking and financial services today could actually be looked at uh, as a very digital and a technology-led sector. Talk to us a little bit more about the kind and the quality of expansion that you would actually foresee, one for the sector, and then if you can actually draw some very specific examples from UTI mutual funds, that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep, and thank you for inviting me for Decoding Jobs Annual Conclave. Congratulations on the report that has been published, and I think it is going to be very, very helpful. Uh, Priyanka spoke a lot about the India story, and I think this is one sector where we have seen growth, significant growth in last couple of years. Um, One is the working population in India is increasing and it will continue to increase. Second is the awareness around financial products and especially on the mutual fund front has been very high. Um, uh, 1 year back or 2 years back, we used to talk about top 8 cities, top 20 cities for penetration perspective. Now we are talking about top 50, 60, 80 cities across the country. So when we talk about that, it is important that how do we establish ourselves or how do we ensure that we reach out to a larger population across the country. And I think only digital or only physical will not be very very helpful from a cost and efforts perspective. I think phygital is the way that we have to look at, where we have our presence but with technology so that we can penetrate on those markets. From a UTI perspective, we are very, very hopeful, or we are exploring opportunities. How do we reach out to all those district cities and smaller locations, which is beyond top 30 cities, and how do we reach to those top 100 cities across the country, and have our products and our presence across that. So we are working towards that, and it's not only us. I think others are also working towards it, and we are hopeful that we will continue to grow in spite of the volatility in the market and in people front. Also, we also see there is attraction in the market. There is retention has been a challenge, but in spite of all these things, we see that there is growth in the business and there is growth in people also in this industry.
No, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And we certainly can't wait to get into the second largest contributor for non-farm organized jobs in the country, which is the tech sector. And this is really,
Yeah.
Meenakshi, when I request you to jump in. There is a lot which is going on in the technology sector globally, right? Almost like many people have been very disappointed, or rather aghast with how some of the largest organizations from the United States, even to some of the very large regional organizations, have looked at, forget about job increases, but job cuts, right? Give us a little more understanding from ground of the technology, product, services space as you're seeing that closer home in India.
Yeah, fantastic question. And I guess we all have been caught by media, right? Everything is on the newspaper, and then suddenly the media and social media tells us what's happening. But if you actually look at the global scenario versus India, of course, we are, as far as the job market is concerned, we see that tension coming in, and the the kind of spurge we saw last year has slowly, the kind of demands the candidates would have, or having multiple offers, have slowly gone down. But that, having said that, I think it is the attitude change which we see because of the global, happenings in and around air. But in India, and as far as Ingram Micro is concerned, as far as our business is concerned, we have grown exponentially. We are also steadily growing in 2023, and we would be investing in the talent. And we really see that though this global, whether it is US or Europe, all these layoffs and the kind of technology tension which is going around, with a lot of news coming in every day. One thing which we have done in the last few months is we ensure that we hire people for long term, and we don't just hire for the sake of having that project in hand. Because when you do these kind of short term hiring, then whatever is happening in the world is bound to happen. Because last year, 6 months of the last year, or maybe entire portion of the last year, we saw a mad hiring, right? I mean, people were going left, right, and center as far as hiring is concerned. And there was a time where we were actually trying to pull each other's candidate. I mean, as an CHRO, I was feeling horrible that somebody who is sitting with 3 offers, we are still interviewing him, right? And that was, I think, a real messaging that this will stop one day. And I think it has stopped already, because the same thing is, you can see, what is happening in US and Europe. But in India, as far as my sector or our sector is concerned, we are going very steadily. We are very optimistic of our growth, and we will continue investing in our talent. However, we will not hire people who are looking at us as just one option.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. And Gautam, very quickly, the fact of the matter is that the Indian economy, for the size that it is today, it is 3.5 trillion. We headed to about 5 trillion. We heard that from the government functionaries speak that as well. There is massive opportunity for growth. But the fact of the matter is that in relative terms to what we've delivered in terms of the job growth in the last 18 months to what we are currently seeing happen globally, significant headwinds. What's the impact that you fundamentally see on ground in terms of employment indices in India?
See, okay, so you brought a good point, Sandeep. See, India is transitioning to the world's factory floor, and it will obviously accelerate the generation of more in number and higher in quality of jobs across the board in India.
So, can I say that India really is now not a distant but a very, very strong alternative to China as a manufacturing, as the factory of the world, as global companies like SKF and others are looking at it?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's all triggered, and which has helped India in a big way. See, if you look at Europe, the inflation rate, energy consumption, the cost of energy is making is unbearable for, people who are producing in Europe or US, right? They will look for better places where their entire product cost can be brought down. And you have countries like Vietnam and grabbing on this opportunity. You have countries like Indonesia, you have countries like India, and India is in the forefront. And if you look at the India's cabinet approved PLI scheme, which provides 2 trillion, which is almost like what, 27 billion US dollars over 5 years, to create jobs and boost production in the country. We are expected to add over 19 million non-farm jobs by 2030. And there's a whole accelerating technology and digital transformation across the industry, means that the demand of a skilled high quality talent is just rising. And our demographic dividend is just rearing up. So that's what I would say. The total job landscape, it looks quite very promising, Sandeep, in India.
Really help me understand. We did speak a lot of the change that was induced into the job market, into the nature of the job market owing to the pandemic, right? We started to see, or rather, at least debate about gig employment, contractual, and so on and so forth. So it's not really going to be one traditional full-time job, but it could actually be a very different nature, structure, approach of it. Are you continuing to see that in the financial services space? Are you seeing the nature of employment fundamentally changing? At least, even if it's happening to 5% for the large sector that we represent, it's quite sizable.
So we need to understand one thing very clearly is that we are also operating in an environment where we have regulations in place. And whether it is banking or mutual fund, we have strong regulations and there are certain guidelines. So when it comes to flexibility in different working methodology, somewhere we are little constrained about it. Having said that, post pandemic, things have changed significantly in terms of expectation from employers. Gone are the days when people used to sit in your office for 8 hours, 10 hours and do the job. Uh, so it has become more objective and focused on deliverables. So it doesn't matter from where you work, how you work, as long as you are following the regulatory guidelines. Uh, by virtue of that, we have seen that the kind of people who have started coming to our industry, which was not seen earlier, especially on the diversity piece, we have seen there is a significant change in diversity. And when I talk about diversity, it is not only gender diversity, it is also people coming from different industries where people had certain perception of financial services that I see that has changed significantly. And it is continuously changing because we have changed our way of working. And we realized that during pandemic, and that has helped us to become more flexible and very different and more adaptable to changes and accepting things which was not accepted earlier. So from that perspective, I see the talent pool has gone up significantly. We have more choices rather looking at only financial services. The other area that I'm seeing is that there was a lot of focus on getting people who come from financial background, and there was a lot of resistance to accept people who are generally freshers. So what I meant to say is that always buy talent from the market was the objective. From there, I think we have moved to build talent kind of scenario where we are hiring people from campuses and trying to train them and build that employee or talent pool in the organization for present and for future.
No, thank you. Thank you. Priyanka, just drawing your experience with Citi, are you seeing different kinds of employment? Also, help us understand how is this all just fitting into the highly regulated environment that you continue to work in while you're supporting a bank and then you are the knowledge hub for the global bank sitting in India? Is that something which is even an option available to the future growth of Citi in India?
I've got your question correctly. Two aspects to it. Firstly, what kind of a working environment do we have? So, look, post pandemic, we have all been figuring out the right way to work or return to site has been, the way we all have proceeded in terms of how we work. Look, we had three segments of employees. One was remote, the other was resident, and the third was hybrid. So almost 60-65% of the workforce have tagged themselves as hybrid. So the best part is, we have not really forced any employee to tag themselves as remote or resident or hybrid. It was done through a survey, and every employee had the right to choose. So I think City did, take an approach which was extremely open-ended, and it really played to the convenience of the employees. A lot of young mothers, a lot of diversity candidates have really welcomed this because they tag themselves as remote. It's really helping them in terms of the work-life balance. So that's the way we are working. We have our frontline businesses, of course, 100% resident, which is they are at work. Um, are we giving different kinds of employment like contractual, etc.? In fact, you rightly mentioned the regulatory environment is really tightened. And in the wake of that, in fact, we are trying to reduce, any of the contractual workforce that we have with third parties. So we are trying to, convert a lot over there. But at the same time, it's not that we have drastically gone away from, giving any contractual opportunities. But there's nothing called a part-time job with City. So we only have full-time jobs or contractual jobs. We don't operate on a part-time basis. So it hasn't changed much. We are a bank. We are a whiter than white culture, and I think risk and controls and compliance is at the fore of everything that we do. Hence, keeping our environment tight and secure is very important to us. But yeah, the way we work, how we work, is hybrid, resident, and remote.
No, thank you. I think that was very, very succinct and very brilliantly answered. So thank you so much, Priyanka. Really coming down to my last question before we almost conclude the panel. Meenakshi, help me understand, as we see the shrinking of the jobs in the West, and we yet continue to see organizations like Ingram Micro do exceptionally well in India, both in terms of your top line growth, bringing in new skills. Do you see India turn into, in this situation, into a great talent hub, which is not just supporting the domestic growth of technology, but actually the global growth of technology, but sitting out of India and not necessarily doing the nearshoring or on the client deployment that we've essentially been seeing all this while in the trajectory of the services industry?
Yes, for sure. And I think because of that, India has become such a central hub in Ingram Micro. I mean, we are actually exporting talent and also having talent working from India for the global offices. That has also helped us to really bring in that as our branding strategy, that we are trying to turn our organization from I mean, we would like to do our business very differently. We are actually transforming completely in Ingram Micro, the way we do business traditionally, the way we have been doing, and how we are going to do it in future. That will change the complete job specifications for many of our associates. And we are really, really very ambitious that we will be seen as a completely different organization in 2023. The way our clients look at us, the way our vendors look at us, the way our associates look at us is completely going to change, just sheer because we are investing in our talent and we are actually digitally transforming our organization.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. I really have a lot to be grateful to all four of you to have taken out the time amidst the entire technology glitch. So again, appreciate your and the patience of the entire audience. Very clearly, I guess what's coming out in the report, and also from what I'm gathering from very diverse sectors that we have as a part of this panel discussion, despite the global headwinds, there is a strong growth that we will continue to witness in India. The nature of that growth might be different. The place where we will see that growth might be different. And at the same time, I guess the HR organizations might just have to focus a lot more on growing talent within as opposed to constantly investing in buying talent from outside. So, from the great resignation, we are here this year talking about the future of the job market of India, which still might not be as awesome as what it was about 12 years back, but is significantly better compared to any of our global counterparts. And maybe this is the country that might still have a solution for the growth and the optimism that the world continues to see. So, thank you so much and really appreciate it.
Thank you and namaste, friends. My name is Pankaj Bansal. I'm the group CEO and co-founder of People Strong and Tagged and VBox. We welcome you all who are watching this show, and thank you, Devashish Sharma, my colleague, president and head of Tagged Business. for this Decoding Jobs. As you all know that this is the 4th edition of Decoding Jobs, which has become a cornerstone for any reference when it comes to jobs, and especially in organized sector and non-farm sector. And today we have a very interesting format, and I'm thankful to all my panelists who you already know. But when I look at the business side, which is being represented by Mohit, who's the country manager and managing director for Record, the brand that we all know, here with us. And we have Ashish Munjal, co-founder and CEO for Sunstone Business School, which is doing fascinating work in higher education space. So thank you both, Mohit and Ashish, once again for joining us. We have Risham from Henkel and had a very rich experience in talent acquisition, and Deepthi from Honeywell, which is known for its cutting edge practices in talent acquisitions. So we thought we have a great diverse panel, diverse not only in terms of gender, diverse not only in terms of the rich experience, diverse not only that it is HR and business represented, but diverse because there are two very different set of problems that business leaders face from one side of the spectrum, and very different challenges that talent acquisition leaders face. So our idea or thought was, friends, that today we are going to get from the horse's mouth what do they feel, which is unfiltered and very candid. When I will request the panelists to speak and share their views, I have requested them to speak as an individual. They may or may not represent their current experience, but they will carry the whole bouquet of experience of their lifetime with us. So thank you once again, and thank you to all the people who have joined us for this. So brace up for next 20-25 minutes. We'll have a very interesting conversation. And for a change in an HR panel, I'm going to start with business and not talent acquisition leaders. And ladies are always first, but here we'll have two men going to talk about what they see from the business side. So Mohit, I'm going to start with you. The research which is coming out, 2 out of 3 leaders in talent acquisition feel that they are the last ones to know the hiring plans. Very often it is blamed on business leaders that why do you hold on to such information and then tell us you have just 10 days to fill a position? Would love to hear your perspective on this, Mohit. And I'm going to replay this question to Ashish as well. Please pick up your real life examples. I would love to hear them. Over to you, Mohit.
So fair enough, Pankaj. Thanks for having me over. So unless and until it's a confidential recruitment, I don't think it's a good idea to hold it to your chest till the last minute. And I am reminded of the fact that when I was in GE, Jack was used to always say that you need to keep your HR head along with you in any conversation, any business meeting that you're doing. And I think that is critical because at the end of the day, the basic ingredient of any business organization or any like a surprise to anyone and expected in the last 10 days. So I think it is incumbent upon a business leader to ensure that HR team or HR leader is participating in every conversation, business conversations, so that they know that where they want to take the organization to.
So Mohit is giving us the ideal playbook that's how it should happen. So would love to hear, Ashish, is that the case? But the TA leaders feel a bit different. They feel that it somehow doesn't reach us. What is your view?
Yeah, so absolutely, I would completely agree with Mohit that this is exactly the way it needs to happen. But when I sort of take a look back, and because I come from a industry which is known to be more hustle bustle, and in the startup eco world, it's very difficult to plan things much ahead in time. And this is, I'll tell you one real life example that happened with us last year and this year. So exactly this happened with us last year when we did not have a HR leader and all the business leaders planned their hiring and everything, but they forgot to inform the HR. So, and at the very last minute, then they sort of like, I needed so many teachers, I needed so many trainers, I needed so many counselors. And in July, there was a lot of chaos in the organization. And that's when we realized, even as a startup, whenever we are doing the planning at the business level, we may not be very clear that, okay, in which form and shape it will evolve 2 months down the line. But at the planning stage, we need to involve the HR business partner. And a good thing is that this year I won't say that we have reached there, but at least the steps have been taken in that direction, where at the AOP stage itself, we have started involving the HR business partners, and they know at least that what business goes through, the ups and downs, the position that may come surface, and then eventually a week later, business may decide not to hire those positions. So at least the pain is shared now. HR understand the pain that business goes through, and business is now at least appreciating the time and effort it takes for TA to line up those 50 trainers that have been lined up for you. And the next week you say that, okay, I'm now planning not to continue with this initiative. So I would say for us, the practical thing that had worked or is looking like that it will work this year is that involve HR in each and every discussions early on, and let's take a joint decision on that. I'll take you one very, very simple example which happened actually yesterday, when we were planning to sign up like 7 or 8 colleges in tier 3 cities, which earlier was not plan of the AOP. But this time the good part was that this moment we decided that we will be signing up these cities and the colleges, our academic had at the very moment marked HR head that, okay, this is something I'm telling you, this is something that these business guys are planning. At least you should be aware and plan for this, that it may come your way, maybe 45 days down the line, but it may come your way. So wonderful. I think it's like every step you take.
I hear the same thing from Mohit and Ashish. They both are realizing early on, because markets don't give you second chance to make the first impression. I think that's what I hear. But I'm going to come back to Mohit. But Ashish,
can I just add something here, Pankaj, if you allow me? And when you asked me for an example, and I'm reminded of I don't want to name the leader, but in the organization, but I remember for all our business reviews, not only AOP, our CHRO used to be participating on all that. And the toughest questions used to come from him. And the questions are not from people related. Questions are business related. So his understanding of the business was so good that he used to ask. And if you're throwing up a plan, which is to say that I'm going to change this dimension completely, his next question would be, have you dimensioned your manpower? Do you know what you need? So I think those are the kind of so yes, it is idealistic, but I think that is where it lays. So the responsibility is of a business leader, of course, to have HR leader along with him, but also on account of HR leader to understand the business deeply and be engaged in it.
So Mohit, it's music to my ears. I'm sure my other co-panelists and the audience, everyone listening this like a music. But tell me one thing, Ashish, and quick one from you and Mohit on this. Then why do you take so many rounds of interviews? TS sometimes question that you keep interviewing people, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, you don't select. Why? We put up the best candidate. Why, Ashish, we take so long to select candidates?
I think that's something that all of us have learned the hard way, and we continue to learn the hard way, because hiring a person who is not a fit is actually a much larger cost to the organization, to the team, and it takes everybody back in time. So it's just about being much more sure, even though the position is urgent, but the costs are too high, the stakes are too big. And I personally do this, so I know it's very difficult.
Then you should relax. Then you should relax the SLA for hiring leaders, isn't it? If you do too many, right? What is your take, Mohit?
So I will be kind of honest, and I'm talking more from experience perspective. I don't think we define it well. When I look at a position, you already have a JD available. If it is not a new position, so that is a separate story. But how many times do we really kind of go back to the drawing board and write the JDs afresh, looking at a business context which is available right now? The JDs are already there. So we need a replacement. We go and say that, okay, we don't even spend time as a business leader to review what is written there, honestly. And I think I've been guilty of not doing that. And when you start interviewing people, and when you start getting that, the cohort that the team has selected, and then you realize something is missing. And I think it is important that we push our business leaders to write on a piece of paper what are they looking for, and which is not a JD, which is not roles and responsibility, because to my mind that is all hardware.
Yeah. So let me interject you here and ask you a question. There is a point on job description which says, do you think the ready-to-use job description is written by 10% of the people correctly? 10% of hiring managers, or 25 or 50 or more? What do you think is the number? This is a research number.
Can you repeat yourself?
So basically JDs which are written by hiring managers, how many are ready to use? Means how well they are written. Do you think 10% can be used? Do you think 25% can be used? Do you think 50% can be used? Or do you think more than that can be used?
I would say 40 to 50%. I don't know what research says. Yeah. And the reason for that I say is because I think why I say is JD is all about hardware.
Yeah, of course.
What is need definition is a software, which
Software,
fundamentally
correct.
means because when you had a particular position 5 years back, the context of the business was very different. Probably you are looking for a particular kind of skill set, competencies, pedigree, blah blah. But what is really required
You
is in this
feel
business
40 to
context.
50. Yeah, you still feel 40 to 50. Ashish, what's your number?
I don't want to be too bad about it. I think it is suboptimal. It requires.
Okay, got it. Ashish, what's your take?
I'm assuming if you're asking the question, it would be much lesser, but I think it will be maybe 10-20%. But I think it's not the hiring manager's problem, to be very, very honest with you, as Mohit was also talking about. And this is something I have also done, and I've also been on both sides. I've been guilty. I have been the one who have been proactive. The job description, and it doesn't need to be a JD, long JD, but at least 4 or 5 pointers on any position need to be given by the business leader. It is very difficult for hiring partner, for hiring leader to assume what you are looking for. Generally, I've seen a lot of people giving them requirement that I need this kind of people, this experience, that experience. But when you get the CVs, which will have all the checkpoint, but you will say it's not the right fit for my role. So that's the problem, which I feel that all the business leaders needs to write 5-6 pointers on the JD.
Let me tell you, the answer was 26 to 50% of the people JDs can be used. Otherwise, they can't be used. And you touched upon another topic, Ashish, before I move to Rishma and Deepti. So how many hiring managers read the resume, you think? Less than 10%, less than 10 to 25, or 25 to 50, or more than 50? What's your take?
I think closer to 25%.
25%. Mohit, what do you think? What's the number? How many people in a detailed way read the resume? Less than 10%, 10 to 25, 25 to 50, or more than 50?
20% maybe.
So less than 10%, as per the research, people really read the resumes appropriately, the business leaders. They're in so much of waiting to meet the person than reading. So anyway, this is wonderful. You tell us what is the ideal way of doing it. We appreciate Ashish, Mohit. I'm going to get back to you, but let me move on to the talent acquisition side after listening to you both. Rishma, to start with you. You heard both the business leaders. They are saying the ideal way, how it should be run. They're accepting some of the challenges that they have. But I just want to also ask from their perspective that why it takes 3 iterations and 10 CVs to get the first right profile. This is a very big problem that hiring managers always blame HR and talent acquisition. Would love to hear your perspective, Rishma.
I think it's because, we don't know what we want. And that's something we cannot escape, that the context of the way in which, let's put it this way, the environment is changing so dramatically that the context of what would make a person successful, the ingredients are changing. So, and I must also say that, when I look at a business manager, they have so many stakeholders involved. If you hire somebody from supply chain, the person cannot just make a decision, right? It's a variety of people across the organization who have an interest or a say in the job. So when you look at so many elements and dimensions, you are never going to get the perfect fit, and you are going to take your own time, sweet time, to go with the iteration. So I personally believe, the day is really about the expectations of a person to deliver fully well is not measured by the immediate supervisor. There are too many people involved, right? And too many relationships to manage. And they're all looking at, okay, will this person be able to manage that person? Will that person be able to manage that hostility that, maybe a customer has to offer? Will that person be able to succeed in an environment which requires a lot of tough, demanding customers, like, for example, government officials or, tax authorities, etc.? So I think it's very customized, and that's what takes a lot of iterations, and hence you never get a fit, and hence you're in this business of or the cow and or the cow. That's my say on this.
No, fair point. Very, very candid or the cow problem. But Deepti, your take on this? You agree with Rishma?
I do. I think, the organization, especially the likes that we work in, are highly complex, highly matrix driven. So that's there. But I also feel that, basis whatever my experience, I think I've tried to zero down, and I feel that there is a 2-pronged problem. One is, the lack of respect, for a JD plus the intake or calibration call. I think there's a lack of respect of that particular connect that happens between a recruiter / HR plus hiring manager. The recruiter at times does not really ask the right questions.
And a whole lot of times the hiring manager also just says, okay, aisa banda chahiye, like just hire, right? I think what a recruiter needs to understand, and a hiring manager also needs to echo, that that particular call is like an RFP, right? You have to at least get 75% right. The way, I'm sure Mohit and Ashish, the kind of effort that you put when you're drafting an RFP or when you're going to a bid, you're so conscious, you're so focused. I think there's a lack of respect there by both the recruiter and the hiring manager. So that has to come right. You have to treat it as a formal RFP-like process to get at least 75% right. And then 25% is a human, we are hiring a human. It's not a 4x4 tile. So there will be differences. If Ashish and Mohit are interviewing, Ashish might like, Mohit might reject. So we'll, but then we have reduced the problem to 25%. So I think that's one. The second, I also feel that, recruiter is the main play here. He or she has to act like a consultant. He or she has to do a prep before going into that meeting. Do a little bit of research. If there was a person before, what were the failure points and what was the success points? So that you ask the right question. So I think that if you're able to give some respect and treat it like a proper sales process, I think we'll achieve some success there. So
point, Deepti, I totally agree with you and it resonates with me. But tell me, one more blame that they always have is that I don't get timely market insights from my TA on talent. Right? I get it much later. This kind of profile doesn't exist. So business leaders said, you should have told me earlier. So I remember a large, very specialized organization, there were only 50 people available. In the end, TA leader said there are 50 profiles. He said, you should have told me earlier. I wouldn't have rejected so many. So what's your take, Deepti, on this? And I would love to get Rishma, your view as well.
I think here I would want to, take the onus of responsibility more on recruiter and HR and then on business. Because Pankaj, I also believe that, there has a lot that has happened in the last 5 years. There was a pandemic. There is a geopolitical situation happening in the Ukraine. There is a difference of generation that has entered the corporate workforce in the last 5 years. So there's a lot that has happened, and it will happen in the coming, again, 5 odd years. We see natural calamities happening, and they impact economy, and hence they drill down to the kind of conversations that we are having right now. So one thing I've realized is I think there is a strong need for recruitment as a function, or talent acquisition as a function, to become very, very proactive. And I think somewhere the onus is on us to ensure that there is a pipelining kind of a project that happens in an organization, and you need to have a separate team. Now, from a business standpoint, maybe Ashish and Mohit can say that, okay, there's a little, you are making a headcount sit there, but I think somewhere you need to appreciate the fact that investing in maybe 1 or 2 headcount or in some agency driven report is something that will enable you to have proactive insights and hence get better decisions when the time comes. So I think, Pankaj, I'll take the onus on us, and maybe some collaboration from business on, how you sponsored this kind of a program.
Very fair point. What's your take, Rishma? Deepti says that this onus lies on a TA.
Well, I think it's a joint responsibility. I totally echo with Dipti, but I also believe it's a joint responsibility. And here's my comment to it. Let's take both our examples, okay? We both are in businesses which are extremely complex, which are very technical. So there's a lot of weightage on technicality of a particular role. Now, if the skill set is already in scarcity from a country perspective, from a talent pool perspective, then I think we need to be active talent scouts. And this responsibility doesn't lie with the recruiter, the recruiting person. It also lies with, the person responsible for this individual, right? So imagine you're working in a manufacturing setup and you are working in a high hazardous chemical plant and you want to bring some process safety guys where the talent pool is minuscule in the country and you have to export talent from another part of the world. Obviously, I would not have that intelligence. I'm not a chemical engineer. I'm not an engineer by education. I may not understand your world. I may not understand your terminology. So that's where, you need to act as a talent scout. So I feel, what is changing is the responsibility is now becoming co-share. So co-success and co-failure, this is important for us to take ownership of it. जब नहीं है तो how will you get it, right? If you have to export talents, that means you should be able to build it's not about even building the competency. You have to match it in such a way that you are investing in the right skills in the current situations, because there is no guarantee that people are going to stay with you for eternity. Anything can happen at any point of time. There is no concept of 2 years, 3 years, say, as much as I may like it. Right?
No, it's a very fair point, and talent scout is a beautiful point. But just tell me, Rishma, is this happening that if you become a talent scout, your dependency on job board will go down?
I don't
Because
think
every
so. I
solution
think
appears to go to job boards.
no, I don't think so. Let's put it this way. Now, if you're looking, see, it all depends on the kind of skills you want to bring into play. The job board continues to be an active source, because if I want to reach out to talents today, and if my connection is so solid, then 5 people, one LinkedIn post, 5 people should reach out to me. But when you're looking at entry-level professionals, you are highly dependent on a job board, highly dependent. Now, this is where specialized skills come into play. When you're looking at people who have experience of working in, let's say, exim policies, or people who have experience of working on, tax implications, I don't know where to search these people. And this is my experience that particularly when you're looking at this intellectual crowd, when you look at the PhD who's work on a particular molecular technology or the next technology, how do you reach out?
Fair point. Deepti, do you agree that our dependency on job boards is a bit too high?
I would say it is, but I would also say that we have evolved, Pankaj. We are venturing into community sourcing, network sourcing. I think where we don't do well, Pankaj, is mining our own ATS. Right? We all the organizations, big, small, have some form of an ATS. And I think what we don't do is we don't look at ATS. And that's a little unfortunate, because the person who's applied to you, the person who's applied is more interested and will not probably drop out. If you offer that person, versus going onto a portal and looking out for someone who's not applied to you, I think the chances are a little more for that lead to not convert finally. So I think leveraging our own ATS will definitely reduce dependency. And what Rishma was alluding to do talent scouts, I think that's like almost a given. I think a lot of business understand that it's not about I am giving you a reference, so it's my hire. No, you are a part of the organization. You have an equal opportunity or equal responsibility to build teams, which is you act as a source to me. So I think that's certainly given. But if we leverage our ATS, I think we can cut down 20-25% of
It's a great point. Leveraging our own data is the last thing that we all do unknowingly. So Mohit, coming to you before I go to some quick fires to everyone, rapid fires. So Mohit, let me ask you that when we reject a candidate, it is again blamed that it's a best kept secret for business leaders. We don't know. The TA leaders keep guessing, why have they rejected? Is it the color of the suit, or is it something more than that? 6 people liked, 1% rejected, and we want to reject it. So what's your take, your and Ashish's take? Why that clarity is not communicated? Why a person is rejected?
It's a tough one, but let me just say that there are, like I said, I think there's a hardware and a software. There could be a certain nuances that you're looking for in person, more from a cultural fitment perspective, because I think when I think aloud, more than usual, if I would have rejected somebody, it would be from a perspective of attitudinally they found something or something is said probably, or he or she said, that did not go with whatever else he or she was saying. There was a cogency issue or something from a cultural fitment perspective. I think, like I said, it's again an ideal answer. How many of us actually write after rejecting a candidate that what is that we did not like? We just say we don't.
Feedback.
Like we don't. I think as a business leader, we don't even take half an hour to write what we need. And after we met, we love to meet people. We would love to have a coffee with them, have a chat with them. And if we don't like somebody, it is very difficult for us to write it down and to actually define it. And I know all organizations have that process, but how many of us, either from a team perspective, push the leader? And I think it's a cultural issue also that do we push our leaders to write why they rejected somebody? Because it's a matter of somebody's time, and somebody also needs to go back to the individual to say that, what was the reason for you not going through? You have to give some kind of a cogent and a credible answer. You just
Very,
can't
very
say.
fair point. Very fair point. Ashish, what's your take? Do you subscribe what Mohit said?
I agree with Mohit actually, and there may be a lot of reasons when you're rejecting a candidate which are difficult to articulate, which may be on the softer side of things, cultural fitment, how well he will gel up with the team. And I'm not saying the reasons are not justified; they're justified reasons, but it takes time to articulate those reasons, put it on a piece of paper, and obviously every company may have their own format, but it takes maybe 5-7 minutes to put down it on a piece of paper in whichever language you are comfortable with. And I've seen both kind of leaders, one who are very proactive in giving feedback to the HR that why I am not why I'm rejecting this person, and the people who just put one line, this candidate will not work out, or I would like to move and pass on and everything. What I've seen is that people who are more proactive from the business perspective, give detailed feedback to the HR, their positions actually closes much more quickly than as compared to the people who are not giving feedback.
Because
It's
they become darlings of recruiters, right? And Ashish
Absolutely.
and Mohit, I just want to say that a good applicant tracking system or a good technology can also solve this problem of giving feedback, verbal feedback. I think this is fabulous insights, Ashish, Mohit, Rishma, and Deepti. And quick questions now, interest of time. I want to ask some quick views, one-liners. What do you think is more important, speed or quality? Deepti, I'm going to start with you. Is speed more important or quality? And you have to pick something. What will be your answer?
My God. Oh, I would have picked up both. I would have picked up both because both are important. But since you are asking me to pick one, I would pick quality.
Okay. Will it change if it is junior, mid, senior?
I would not say junior or senior, but with complexity and the end bottom line or top line, it will change with regards to that. Yeah.
Perfect. Great answer. Ashish.
I would say it's depend on the position of responsibility. It's an entry-level profile, I will go for speed, but if it's mid-level and above, I will definitely go for quality.
Okay, Mohit.
I think my answer is completely resonating with Ashish. But that also does not mean that if you're looking for a junior guy, just go for speed. There is some level of quality, but of course, because I think Ashish started by saying initially that, a mishiring costs you more. So the quality should always proceed over speed.
Sure. Now, I have a joke, and we calculated at People Stronger. Wrong hire at a mid-level is a BMW crash. I can prove it on a number. I can prove it on a number to you. Rishma, what is your take on this quality and speed?
I think it's similar to what Mohit and Ashish believe. Yeah.
Right. So you like that.
And BMW plus Audi plus whatever you can think of, the cost is too expensive.
Right. And what is the take? A quick take on D&I. What is the biggest disabler? What is that stopping us to focus on diversity-based hiring, inclusion-based hiring? What stops? What's that one single factor which irks us the most? I want to hear one quick answer that you are battling, you are trying to fight it out. Whatever it can be. It can be you don't have bandwidth. It can be business don't have focus. It can be it's not on an agenda. It's lack of talent. It's probably we have not adopted newer technologies or systems to hire people. What is that one thing, Rishma and Deepti? I'll start with you, then Ashish and Mohit.
Very honest answer. Okay. And I think, even if when I'm looking at Henkel, I think the focus is very much exists. What I believe are two disablers, of which, irks me is, I think the value proposition. We don't have hiring managers very clearly articulating the value proposition for female talents. And secondly, I believe it's important to also do a reality check of the infrastructure support. The ecosystem, is it really prepared to bring more female talents or engineers or whatever? I think we have not really paid attention to these two topics. So this is clearly, an irk area for me for sure.
Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Rishma.
Yeah. No, I think good points by Rishma. I would also say unconscious bias. It's a very stereotypical term that everyone uses, but I think it's true. People themselves are at times not self-aware. So unconscious bias. And also, I am a huge stickler for getting the basics right. So if your infra is not right, nothing happens, right? And your business is not ready. So infra could be anything. Infra could be corporate infra could be government infra. Are the street lights working after 8? If a if a female candidate is kind of working. So yeah,
so I'm going to ask.
conscious.
Yeah, but Deepti, I was looking at Tag. They've started sending now CVs masking the names.
Yeah.
We've started doing all that. Now it's becoming popular, and I'm very glad that it's changing. I see the needle moving, and not only women, but LGBT, but people who are senior age, people who've had some background which was not probably a proper accepted social civilian background. All this is being changed. So thank you for this. Ashish, what's your take?
I would say convenience and lack of commitment. And I'm saying this because one of the leaders that we had to hire in the company last year, we actually took a very conscious decision that we will only get a female leader for this position. It actually took us a lot of hard work because we were looking for very specific person, very specific profile. It took us 3 months, but we stick to it. So I would say if you are disciplined and you are committed, it can be done.
Thank you, Ashish. Mohit, what's your take?
I think it's a matter of conviction and focus. I fortunately I worked in the organizations which were very big in diversity, be it American Express and Vodafone. And after that experience, what I can tell you is people were looking at things that there are certain roles, sorry for me being stereotyping about it, which are probably more diversity oriented, which are like supposedly HR, just for example's sake. I have worked in organizations where we forced our people to take frontline salesperson who were from diversity. And lo and behold, they did the best. So what we did is, and it's also a process of change management and building a culture around it. You just can't put an agenda P+1 or that I need a 20% of my work. Like Vodafone worked at some point of time to put some kind of percentage behind that, but it didn't work initially. But I think eventually when we ensured that we got a right kind of talent, irrespective of the gender, but also showcase if they have been successful. And then over a period of time, there was a conviction. And I also, while it might still sound idealistic, I think people over a period of time realize it makes organizations well-rounded. When you have diversity.
Fair point. I think Deepti or Rishma also said the environment, the infrastructure, the value props. So no, I think this brings us to a great point. And I want to just ask one thing. What according to you is at a middle level is a joining time? 45 days, 60, 90. What do you think, Ashish, will be a typical joining? 45, 60, 90. 60. What according to you, Mohit?
60.
Rishma?
I think varies 60 to 90, depends.
To 90. Deepti, what do you think?
Yeah, I would also say 60 plus.
So see, all our leaders are so well aligned. 60 is the number. But the question, the reason why I asked, I think there is no reason why this number can't be 50. We've got to just believe in it. If we have what talent scouts Rishma talked about, or what Deepti talked about, how it can be done, or the examples you gave, Mohit and Ashish, I think it is very much possible. I think we can crash down that and we can help really leaders and the hiring processes and organizations to improve productivity. And on closure, I would love to hear from you. There are so many rumors and actual recession global that's happening, that people are saying jobs are going away. I wrote in Dainik Bhaskar, which is a Hindi daily. I've never written, but I wrote this time on 1st January, a very article with a lot of hope, and I quoted actual examples. So one line from each one of you, very quick as a closure, that what is the hope you see in hiring market? And I really want you to say this thing to people who are looking for jobs, people who are coming out of colleges, not only freshers, but even seniors who are looking for job. What is the hope you see in whatever is happening in geopolitics and around us? Ashish, what's your take?
I don't think that there is a lot of impact in India. And personally, I see there are a lot of noise in the market. It should subside in next 1 or 2 quarters. So I'm seeing by end of 2023, we'll have a very robust hiring sort of season coming up.
Wonderful. US is already going up 500,000 jobs last month. Thank you, Ashish. Yeah. Mohit, what's your take or message?
My message to everyone is I am very positive about India. And I think there could be transient months here and quarters, or could be certain sectors. But if you look at all across, if you look at every dimension, I think India is a place to be for a couple of decades for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mohit. Rishma.
This is our time. We have to make the best out of it.
Absolutely. Can't ignore.
Absolutely. Deepti, what's your take?
I think India is bullish. So we are good. We are good. It's just that I will echo with Ashish. There will be a little bit of a caution in the first quarter and probably, the start of the second. And I think that caution is going to be for good, right? So we don't make mistakes that probably some of the other firms did. So, but I think it's a good time. It's a good time to be here. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hail India, and we must claim our treasure. That is India's treasure, and we all are going to leverage and contribute towards this. Once again, thank you so much, Mohit and Ashish, for bringing in that perspective very candidly, and Rishma and Deepti for so beautifully elaborating this side of the problem that we have. I'm sure our audience would have loved it, like I enjoyed thoroughly, and I stand enriched. Thanks to each one of you, to my colleagues at Tagged, Elim, and everyone who put together the show. Thank you so much, and have a great day and a great time ahead. Happy decoding jobs. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishma, Deepti, Mohit, Ashish, Pankaj, for this candid conversation. Yes, we should all hail. It's all hail India for sure. And lots of learning from this session. And my best thing that I'm going to carry on from this session is that hiring right every time, right time is something which is a collaborative exercise between hiring managers and TA. Because hiring manager's success is TA's success and his business's success. With this, we come to the end of Decoding Jobs India Conclave, Annual Conclave 2023. I would like to thank each and every one of you, all our delegates and attendees who took time from their busy schedules and attended all these sessions. I would like to thank our partners, our industry partners, CII, Confederation of Indian Industries, our media partners, Economic Times, without whose support this event would not have been possible. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much for making Decoding Jobs India Annual Conclave a success. Have a great weekend.